After 2 millennia, they grew. But here's what they didn't tell you. Teff wasn't just food, it was the foundation of an empire that rivaled Rome. It sustained armies that marched for months without resupply. It fed populations through droughts that collapsed civilizations across 3 continents. And then it vanished. Not because it failed, because it succeeded. Let me take you back. Ethiopia, 3000 BCE. Before Egypt became Egypt, before Mesopotamia built its first cities, before wheat became the cornerstone of Western agriculture, teff was already there. Growing wild across the highland plateaus, tiny seeds so small 50 of them could fit on your fingernail. But those seeds, they were indestructible. They survived droughts that killed everything else. They grew in soil so poor nothing else would root. They needed no irrigation, no fertilizer, no human intervention at all. The early peoples of the Horn of Africa didn't domesticate teff. Teff allowed itself to be harvested. And once they tasted it, everything changed. By 1000 BCE, the kingdom of Damat had risen, the first great Ethiopian civilization. And at the center of their agriculture, their economy, their survival, teff. They ground it into flour, made injera, the spongy, fermented flatbread that could be stored for weeks without spoiling, portable, nutritious, dense with energy, perfect for armies. When the Aksumite Empire rose in the 1st century CE, they became one of the most powerful forces on Earth. They minted their own currency. They traded with Rome, India, Persia. Their obelisks, some over 100 feet tall, still stand today. And their soldiers? They marched on teff. Ancient Greek texts describe Aksumite warriors as tireless. Roman merchants wrote of their endurance. Persian traders noted their strength. They weren't superhuman. They were eating complete protein, high iron, slow-burning carbohydrates, amino acids that modern athletes pay hundreds of dollars to synthesize in labs. Teff gave them all of it, for free. Fast forward to 1936, Italian occupation of Ethiopia. Mussolini's forces swept through the highlands, burning villages, seizing land. But they also brought scientists, agronomists, researchers. And those researchers found something that stunned them. Ethiopian farmers, living in one of the poorest regions on Earth, were healthier than European peasants eating wheat and barley. Stronger bones, better teeth, higher endurance, lower rates of disease. The Italians tested the soil, they tested the crops, and they found teff. They analyzed it, they documented it, they sent samples back to Rome. The reports were buried. Why? Because teff didn't fit the model. It couldn't be controlled, it grew too easily. It needed no chemicals, no industrial machinery, no corporate supply chains. You couldn't patent it, you couldn't monopolize it. Teff was a farmer's grain, and that made it dangerous. Let's talk about what teff actually contains, because this is where the story gets unbelievable. Teff is 13 to 14% protein. That's higher than wheat, higher than rice, higher than corn. But it's not just protein, it's complete protein. All 9 essential amino acids, the same profile you'd find in meat or eggs, in a grain that grows wild. It contains more iron than almost any other plant on Earth. Not just iron, highly bioavailable iron, the kind your body can actually absorb. Ancient Aksumite warriors weren't anemic, they weren't malnourished. They were eating 123 milligrams of iron per 100 grams of teff. For context, spinach has 2.7. Teff has more calcium than milk, more fiber than oats, more resistant starch than potatoes, which means it doesn't spike your blood sugar. It burns slow, steady, for hours. It's gluten-free. It's rich in thiamine, which prevents beriberi, a disease that ravaged rice-eating populations for centuries. And here's the kicker. Teff seeds are so small, they contain almost entirely endosperm and germ. No bran to strip away, no refining process. Every nutrient stays intact. You don't need to fortify it. It's already whole. In 1993, a team of researchers working in the Ethiopian highlands found grinding stones dating back over 5,000 years. They tested the residue, teff. But that wasn't all. They found storage pits, underground chambers lined with clay and ash to keep the grain dry. Some of those pits still contain seeds. When they carbon dated them, 3000 BCE, older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. Teff wasn't just part of early agriculture, it was early agriculture. But here's what's haunting. Almost none of this research made it into mainstream academic journals. Almost none of it was translated into English. Almost none of it reached the West. Why? Because by the time these discoveries were being made, the global agricultural system had already decided what humanity would eat. Wheat, corn, rice. The big three. Crops that could be grown on industrial scales, mechanized, fertilized, sprayed, shipped, controlled. Teff didn't fit that system, so it was ignored. Here's what they don't teach you in school. The Green Revolution of the 1960s, the one that supposedly saved 1 billion lives, wasn't about feeding people. It was about control. Governments and corporations pushed high-yield varieties of wheat and rice into developing nations, varieties that required synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation systems, seeds that farmers had to buy every year. It created dependency, and it worked. Countries that once grew diverse regional crops became monocultures. Ethiopia, the birthplace of teff, started importing wheat. By the 1980s, aid organizations were shipping American grain into the Ethiopian highlands. The same region that had fed empires for 5,000 years was now dependent on foreign wheat. Teff was labeled primitive, low yield, unmarketable. But none of that was true. Teff yields 1,500 to 3,000 kilograms per hectare on poor soil with no irrigation. Wheat requires 3 times the water. Corn requires fertilizers that destroy soil health within a decade. Teff improves the soil. Its root systems prevent erosion. Its short growing season, 60 to 90 days, means farmers can grow multiple crops per year. It's not low yield. It's too efficient. Let me tell you what happened in 2004. A Dutch company tried to patent teff. Not the plant itself, they couldn't do that, but they patented the process of making teff-based products outside Ethiopia. For 3 years, Ethiopian farmers who had been growing teff for 5 millennia couldn't legally export their own grain to Europe. The patent was eventually overturned. But the message was clear. Teff is a threat. Not to people, to systems. It grows in places where industrial crops fail. It thrives in droughts. It needs no chemicals. It can't be genetically modified. Its genome is too complex. You can't corner the market on teff. And that's exactly why it stays hidden. So here's where we are. Teff is still grown in Ethiopia, Eritrea, parts of India, but it's considered a specialty grain in the West. Expensive, exotic, niche. You can buy it in health food stores for $12 a pound. Meanwhile, subsidized corn and wheat flood the market at $0.20 a pound. Not because they're better, because the system is designed to keep them dominant. But teff is still here. It survived empires. It survived colonization. It survived the Green Revolution. It grows in cracks, in forgotten fields, in the hands of farmers who refuse to let it die. And now it's spreading because people are waking up. They're realizing that the crops we've been told to eat, the ones that dominate every grocery store, aren't the ones that kept civilizations alive. Teff did that. Teff still does. There's a saying in Ethiopia, Teff grows where memory lives, because Teff doesn't forget. It doesn't need scientists to rediscover it. It doesn't need corporations to approve it. It just grows.